Welcome to Ghouls Night Out with your hostesses, Brandy and Jody. Hello, beautiful ghouls. This is Brandy. I'm here with my sister, Jody.
Hello.
Sorry, we're having technical difficulties, so... Anyway, so I actually wanted to start things off and say we're sorry about the audio last week. I know it was probably hard to hear some of it, but we were sharing microphones. So, yeah, sorry about that. But if you do want to have better audio going forward, all you have to do is give us money so we can buy better equipment. So, and I wanted to give you an update on my Cardinal. I'm still having issues with that stupid thing. Instead of just the kitchen window now, it's going to all of the other windows.
Is it going around the whole house?
No.
Or just that side?
Just that side. Well, it's like the side, and now it's on the back, and it's on the other side now.
What is it after?
I have no idea. It's just shitting everywhere.
Ew.
There's shit all over the window sills, all over the house. I mean, not the front. It hasn't gotten to that point yet. But it's like, you know, the master bedroom, those two windows,
yeah.
That small bathroom, that window, and the big kitchen window. It was at the dining room windows.
It's so weird.
It's lost its fucking mind. It's going crazy. I don't know what it's doing. I don't know what it wants. I don't know. But it's insane. But yeah, we're still having to go through that.
Is it like all night long, or is it just every now and then?
It's every now and... I mean, to me, I really don't spend that much time... And I'm so busy all the time. I'm either, doing something, so I'm not paying attention.
Yeah.
So I will hear it every now and then. But according to the kids and Aaron, they hear it all the time. So...
But it's not actually attacking any people yet.
Not yet, right? No.
Okay. Well, that's good anyway.
Yeah, it's just attacking the windows, and it's shitting everywhere.
That's gross.
I know.
I hate birds.
I know, they're nuts. I swear these birds are like diving under my car. All these birds are going nuts around. I mean, they're attacking me. It's like...
That's weird.
I know. I'm having bird issues.
Did you ever see that old Hitchcock movie,
Heck
The
yeah.
Birds? I loved that movie.
Yeah, that scared the shit out of me when I was little. I loved it.
Me too.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we're having to deal with that. So, I found a few things in the news this week. First, super sad, 2 young athletes already in August, and today's the 10th, but when this comes out, I think it's going to be the 14th. But so in the last 10 days, 2 young athletes while at practice have died from overhydration, meaning they drank too much water or fluid, which... That's insane. One kid reportedly drank 2 gallons of water and 2 gallons of Gatorade.
I wonder what the time frame was.
I don't know. I mean, if you think about... when I was in high school, if we had a practice after school, it would be, like 2 hours?
Yeah.
So, that would be a gallon of fluid every
4
half hour.
gallons.
Yeah, that's insane. He drowned himself. Literally.
That's weird.
So they do recommend that guys have 13 glasses of water a day and women have 9 glasses of water per day. So I just say drink 64 ounces of water no matter what every day. And if you feel thirsty, you need water. That's what I've always heard. And I totally agree. If you feel thirsty, just drink some water. It's good for you. Just don't do it in excess. I mean, that's insane. So I found this badass in the news. A beauty queen in the Southern California desert community of Phelan. It's either Phelan or Felon. I heard it pronounced both ways, so I'm not sure, but I'm going to go with Phelan. But she has given up her crown rather than cover her tattoos. Sierra Lady or Lady or Lade, maybe Leyde. I don't know, I'm probably butchering that. But she didn't have any tattoos when she was named Miss Feline at the age of 17. She celebrated her 18th birthday with tattoos of flowers on her upper arm and shoulders and a shark tattoo on her forearm. The Feline Chamber of Commerce asked her to sign a contract saying she would keep her tattoos covered while she was in her sash and crown. She says she doesn't think she should have to cover her tattoos because they're now a normal thing.
She shouldn't have to.
Absolutely not. So she decided to drop her title instead.
Good. I'm very proud of her.
Fuck yeah. She is a badass. I mean, way to stand your ground,
tattoos
girl.
Nowadays it's just another expression of yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And people need to change their views.
Right, because it's people's skin.
Yeah, it's their own. They can look any way they want to.
Right. I mean, as long as it's not offensive, which watching YouTube, people have an alarming amount of dicks tattooed on them.
I know. I've seen that. And it's disgusting.
What the fuck?
Now, if it was something like that,
that's offensive. I mean, that's not appropriate.
Naked body parts.
Sure.
And, just nasty, whatever. But flowers.
Exactly.
Give me a break.
Exactly. So, yeah.
And a lot of people use tattoos as a way of remembering loved ones that have passed.
Right.
I've got a couple of those.
Right. I mean, they mean something.
Yeah, exactly. You don't tell me I need to cover it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I agree. So, yeah, that little badass, she stood her ground, and she was like, fuck you guys.
Good for her.
I know. She's like, I'm doing what I want to do. So, another thing that I wanted to bring up, this past Wednesday night, it was Wednesday night, Thursday morning, the 8th and 9th of August, was the 49th year anniversary of the Manson family murders. So, it's been 49 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
I know. There are 3 new Manson family murder movies coming out, and one of them is directed by Quentin Tarantino. So,
ooh, that'll be good.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch that. And it actually stars Leonardo DiCaprio, which I absolutely love him. Margot Robbie, she was Harley Quinn on Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And she's going to be Sharon Tate. And then Brad Pitt is in it, and he looks like shit. He looks really weird. It doesn't look like him at all.
Like they made him look like shit, or he just looks like shit?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. But it doesn't look like him at all. And it's just really weird. But look that up. I might try and remember to post that on Facebook, a picture of them. But they're all decked out in their 70s gear, and so I'm excited for that. But I'm not sure, but it'll probably come out, next year. It's going to be the 50th anniversary, probably. So yeah. But I thought that was interesting. It's been 49 years since that happened. Another thing that I came across was, this other badass. This is in South Bend, Indiana, and I'm not sure who wrote the article, but it says WNDU, so I'm thinking it was a radio station, something like that. Mm-hmm. But this guy, 2018 has been a tough year for Brock Meister. January 12th could have been his last day on Earth. He says, I could have been drinking and driving, but we were doing the right thing and having somebody else drive, and still something happened. It doesn't make much sense, he said. After dinner with friends in Plymouth, he was off to his grandparents' house 10 minutes away, which tells you anything can happen at any distance.
Well, they say accidents and stuff happen closer to home.
Right. It's like I think it's like 2 miles from your home is statistically when accidents happen, something like that.
That's weird. I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's crazy. But a lot of people are like, oh, nothing's going to happen. It's just 2 minutes away. Well, you never know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he was driving 10 minutes, and his friend was driving his truck when the vehicle hit black ice and rolled onto its passenger side. Brock was catapulted from his seatbelt. His head busted through the window before his friends could pull him back inside. Blood was just running down my face, and my neck hurt, but I didn't realize how bad it was hurt that night, he said. His friends kept him still until paramedics arrived and rushed him to the hospital. The doctors at Memorial Hospital in South Bend said the thing that saved him was not having anything happen from the time of the injury to the time he got to the hospital. And Brock had been internally decapitated.
Oh.
So his skull completely separated from his spine. Yeah. So he was like, yeah, my neck hurt. So with the help of screws and rods, the two surgeons realigned Brock's bones and joints so his body could start healing. Once back home, Brock wore a head brace for 3 months and started physical therapy. But this kid, he needed CPR at birth, and at the age of 16, he overcame a brain tumor.
Wow. What did he do in a past life?
I know, right? This kid's 22 years old.
Oh, hopefully he's done for the rest of his life.
I know, man. That kid deserves a really good life after all that. But yeah, I guess this happened in January. So it's 8 months later, and he's just continuing outpatient therapy.
That's cool.
I know, but I was like, man, what a badass. He was like, yeah, my head came off. It's all good.
Did you know there's a skull floating in space?
No, I'd never heard of that. That is crazy.
Yeah, it's a dead comet is what it is, but it looks like when you look at it through a telescope or whatever. Is that what that's called? A telescope?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It looks like a skull.
That is so cool.
You have to look it up online.
Yeah.
Last time it came around was around Halloween in 2015.
Huh.
And it was only 300,000 miles from Earth.
That's really close.
So everyone was scared that it was going to hit.
Holy shit.
Obviously it didn't. The next time it's supposed to come around is in September of 2088.
No.
But it's supposed to be farther away, so
yeah, we won't be here probably.
How many years is that?
2088 from now would be like 70 years.
Oh, yeah, I'll be gone.
Yeah, we'll be gone. Oh, we can't see the skull.
We can't see it anyway.
That's all right.
We won't be able to see pictures of the skull.
Well, look on the internet, damn it. It's on the internet. Okay, so last week you told me to look at the Two Girls, One Ghost podcast group, which if you guys don't listen to it, that's a really good podcast.
It's a very good podcast.
So Two Girls, One Ghost group. And there was a post on there from the podcast called I Seem Fun.
Yes.
And there was totally a fucking ghost voice.
Oh my gosh, it was so spooky.
It is spooky. You guys look it up. It is, I think it's like the third episode down. I don't know if she deletes them after a while because she said she's been doing it for a long time. It's just this girl that talks about her life, and she does it I think every week, and she just talks about the stuff that happened to her that week. So it's just kind of like a diary.
Yeah.
And she was just talking about everything. She said she was at her favorite Airbnb, and she was I think she was doing a quick episode, and someone had kind of told her that they heard this thing because it's really obvious. I mean, it's loud.
Really obvious.
Yeah, and it's really spooky. So if you guys look, the title of it is called Choose Your Own Title, and it's the I Seem Fun podcast. And there's it sounds exactly like the same voice.
Yes.
Both times.
Yes, definitely.
But they're around 59.24 and 59.55. So if you guys look that up, because it is spooky. I listened to it and I had to turn it off. I was like, this is too creepy. I don't like it.
And just so you know, if you guys ever hear anything like that on one of our episodes, do not let us know.
You can tell me.
No.
I won't tell Jody.
No. Don't let us know.
Oh, but yeah, I wanted to discuss that because that creeped me out, and
I'm actually surprised that doesn't happen more often.
I know.
With all the podcasts.
I know. But I mean, there's so many out there that I have no clue about.
Oh, yeah.
So who knows what spooky shit is on them. But yeah, it is. I mean, it is obvious, and there is a voice in 2 separate spots. It's super creepy.
That poor girl was freaked out.
She was. She totally, like, even in the episode, she's just talking over it. I mean, she doesn't notice at all. There's nothing there, obviously.
Oh, no. She has no clue.
But when she posted, when someone told her about it, she was like, dudes, I am not cool with this. She's like, that was my favorite Airbnb. So look that up if you want to creep yourself out. So, but yeah, those were my stories of the current offbeat stuff for the week.
All right. Well, we might as well talk about ghost stories.
All right, let's do it.
I've got some ghost stories. I got these off of HuffingtonPost.com.
Okay.
First one is called The Cell Phone. A couple of months ago, my friend's cousin, a single mother, bought a new cell phone. After a long day of work, she came home, placed her phone on the counter, and went to watch TV. Her son came to her and asked if he could play with her new phone. She told him not to call anyone or mess with text messages, and he agreed. At around 11:20, she was drowsy, so she decided to tuck her son in and go to bed. She walked to his room and saw that he wasn't there. She then ran over to her room to find him sleeping on her bed with the phone in his hand. Relieved, she picked her phone back up from his hand to inspect it. Browsing through it, she noticed only minor changes such as a new background, banner, etc. But then she opened up her saved pictures. She began deleting the pictures he had taken until only one new picture remained. When she first saw it, she was in disbelief. It was her son sleeping on her bed, but the picture was taken by someone else above him, and it showed the left half of an elderly woman's face.
What?
Oh my God!
No!
I would die!
Oh my gosh!
I would leave and never come back.
Where was it? It was in the house?
Yes! In
Oh
her bedroom.
my gosh!
In her bedroom.
No. No.
No.
I don't like that.
I don't either. Okay. The next one's called The Rocking Horse. One night when I was maybe 10 or 12, I had trouble falling asleep. My bedroom was the entire top floor of our house, with my bed and such being on the left side and storage closets and a play area on the right. I was lying in bed when I heard a noise from the other side of the room and see a rocking horse begin to rock. It was sitting just outside one of the storage closet doors. It proceeded to rock its way halfway across the room and stopped dead under the ceiling light. At this point, I was freaking out and just buried my head under the blankets and never peeked out again until morning.
No.
It was all confirmed to not be a dream, as the rocking horse was still in the middle of my room when I woke up.
Oh my God.
Furthermore, I got a stern reprimand from my parents for being up out of bed playing with my toys well past my bedtime. Their bedroom was directly below the storage closet play area and had heard the creaking of the rocking horse shuffling across the room.
No. Oh my gosh. I don't know why that reminds me. I don't even remember where I heard it. It was probably on a podcast. But this guy, he was having experiences in his bedroom. And so he woke up one night and he sat up, but he hit his head on something. So it was completely dark in his room. So he reached up and he felt something hard. And he noticed there was like a pattern on it. He was like, I know what this is. Like, what is this? Like, he hit his head on something, like he was in a box or something. Like, he didn't know where he was. But somehow, I don't remember if he just fell asleep again or what happened, but he woke up the next morning and looked up and immediately recognized the pattern on his ceiling.
Oh my gosh, he was floating?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I know. I don't remember where I heard that story from, but oh my God, it freaked me out so bad.
Ooh, I don't like that story. Okay, the next one is called The Following. My older sister has a ghost that's followed her around for years. I lived with her once for about 3 months, and so much weird stuff happened in that time. All my sister would say to me when I mentioned it was that her ghost didn't like me being there.
Oh, God.
Things like going to bed with everything locked up and switched off and waking up in the morning with the back door open, lights on, and the kettle switched on. One night, my sister and I were getting ready to go out, and I'd asked to borrow her liquid foundation. I used it and put it back where she kept her makeup. 10 minutes later, she's asking me for it, and it was nowhere to be seen. She accused me of taking it and made me buy her a new one and refused to listen to my side of the story.
Jody.
Hey. About a year or so later, when she was packing to move to a new house, she found the makeup in a shoebox with some old letters. The shoebox was in a zipped-up suitcase that was underneath her bed. But probably the most scared I ever felt was one afternoon when I was the only one in the house, which never happened as 4 other people lived there. I'd arrived home from work and headed straight to the bathroom. All the doors and windows were closed. I was standing in the bathroom and started squeezing a pimple on my chin when a female voice in the hall said, "Stop picking your zits."
Oh.
It was loud enough and sounded real enough, and at the time I thought it was my sister. So I laughed, told her to fuck off, and asked what she was doing for dinner. No answer. I stuck my head out into the hall. No one there. I searched the house top to bottom, and there was no one home. I sat out on the front porch until someone else got home because I didn't want to be in there alone. What do you mean, Jody?
I'm just kidding.
If anyone, I was the one getting my stuff stolen.
That's what I'm saying, though. That totally happened to you.
Yes, it did, all the time. So, my next one is called The Whispers. I just don't even like the title. This is a story I do not often tell. I promise sincerely that this has scarred me for life, and although I have looked into psychological explanations for what I heard and natural explanations for what occurred, they remain unsatisfactory. When I was a child, I was scared of the dark. I swore to my mother I heard voices in it. They were not evil, but they were not familiar, and so they scared me. It was not uncommon in the middle of the night for me to wake up and hear whispers, as I would call them when asking my mom. She figured they were just bumps in the night and typical kid nightmare material. I tried often to explain to her that it was more than that they sounded different from one another the way people's voices do. On some nights I would get so scared from these whispers that I would sleep in my mom's bed with her. It was an added bonus that the bathroom was directly outside of her bedroom door for my late night tinkles. I should add at this point that when walking out into the hall to go to the bathroom, you look directly down the stairs that would lead you into my living room on the first floor, as my mom's bedroom was on the second floor. On one such night around Christmas, I awoke and felt the need to relieve myself. I walked out from the door and distinctly heard the phrase, "Look!" And to my astonishment, a red light, almost like a spotlight, was cast upon the wall at the very bottom of the stairs. The light had no other source. It was by itself, and I was transfixed by it. Being a little kid, and it only being a few days before Christmas, I knew what the light was. It was Santa!
Oh.
How else could he get into my house to know if I was being a good boy? I was so excited I began walking down the stairs to greet him, picking up my pace after the second step as it began to creep off the wall and fade into the darkness in my living room. That's when I heard him. A very strong, masculine voice, different from the first, not at all like my father's. Not to say he isn't masculine, it was just distinctly different. It said, "Stop, right now. Go back up those stairs."
Oh.
I listened, turned around, and what happened next I am not sure I would believe if someone had told me the same story. After reaching the top of the stairs, I heard a very loud crash that sent me running back to my mother's bed, where I jumped straight under the covers and stayed there the whole night. When we awoke the next morning, the poinsettia lights, little Christmas flower lights that glowed red, my mother had put on the railing down the stairs, were pulled straight down to the bottom of the stairs, some broken from what seemed like a forceful tear, laying in a single pile. The dry sink in my living room had fallen from the wall. My mother could not explain it. My father was worried we had been the victims of a home invasion. My sister was crying. There was nothing missing. Nobody had broken in. There did not seem to be any reason this had happened. And then I saw it, and I kept quiet about it because I was so afraid that I could not force the words out of my mouth. There, on the edge of the wooden dry sink, which had been facing up, were 3 indentions where the finish on the wood had been worn, almost as if in a forceful grip. Something down there had grabbed it and threw it down. That was what the bang was.
Whoa.
I was mortified. After that day, I never heard a single voice again. I do not like to imagine what was waiting downstairs for me that night. if it was anything at all, but I can tell you that the reality was that something had physically acted upon two things in my house near the bottom of that stairwell.
Huh.
After this, I never heard another whisper again, which is sad because in some ways I would have liked to thank the man that had stopped me from going down those stairs. This happened when I was 7. I am 20 years old now, and because of this incident, I am still afraid of the dark, especially shadowy stairwells.
Holy shit, that's awesome.
I know. I wonder what it was trying to lure him down the stairs.
No.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Think it got pissed and started tearing shit up.
That's what it sounded like to me.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy. The next one's called The Grandfather. My grandfather told me this story about how one time he was sitting in a chair in front of the house when he heard his wife repeatedly calling him from inside the house. The thing is, my grandmother passed away a few years before that.
Huh.
But he told me that the voice was so pressing that he actually got up to look inside the house. And as soon as he got inside, he heard a loud crash behind him and turned around to see that the chair he had been sitting in moments ago had been crushed by the cast iron gutter that fell on it. If he hadn't come inside the house, he would have probably been seriously injured. I don't know if it's paranormal or not, but every time I think about it, it sends chills down my spine.
Ooh, yeah, guardian angels.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I've got one more.
All right.
This one's called The Shadow. I don't like that title either.
No, it's creepy.
I didn't know that's what it was called until much later. I was living in a house in Laguna Beach that had been there since the 1920s. In its history, it had been a speakeasy, a brothel, and a house for smuggling illegal immigrants. One day, my new wife and I were having an argument. I can't even recall what it was about. She walked down the block to get a cup of coffee and cool off, and I was alone in the house. The way the place was built was incredibly haphazard. There was a bedroom and living room on one side, then a bathroom with 2 entrances. On the other side of the bathroom was a hallway that had windows on one side and 2 bedrooms on the other. From my bedroom, I could look across the hall into the bathroom, then through the bathroom and down the other hall. I was standing at my dresser and I just noticed movement out of the corner of my eye and looked down there. There was, and honest to God, this gives me goosebumps just typing it 17 years later, a black figure. It was maybe 3 feet tall, and it was only vaguely humanoid. It looked like black scribbles, like someone had scribbled a human shape, but the scribbles moved, like electricity arcing. That's the best way to describe it. There was no sound that I could remember. I distinctly remember when I saw it, I wasn't afraid, just like, what the fuck? Then it noticed me looking at it. Ew. I can't say it turned around, it just focused on me, I guess. Then I was scared. I didn't move, didn't scream, nothing. I was just frozen because it just fucking came at me. It rushed down the hall towards me. I had no idea what it intended, but as soon as I entered the bathroom, the door closest to me just slammed shut on it. I screamed. I yelled for my wife. She wasn't home. I went the fuck outside, into the daylight, and didn't go back in until she got home about 10 minutes later. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe I saw something supernatural, but I know I saw something. I don't know what it was.
Oh my gosh, that's creepy. And how can you not believe in supernatural?
Who shut the door on it?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh. And that's the creepiest, scribbles?
Yeah, that move.
Ooh, no.
I can't even
imagine that.
Yeah.
That's insane. I've never heard anything like that.
Me neither.
Oh, that's creepy. Okay. So I hope everyone is ready to learn about the Hoosier State because I did all of mine about the creepy legends in Indiana.
Awesome.
So my first one, and I looked up where each of these were, and most of them are southern Indiana. Oh. So it's either southern or north. I mean, there was no east or west at all. It was either southern Indiana or northern Indiana. So my first one is the legend of Black Annie. A woman named Black Annie still walks the streets in Boonville. According to legend, she supposedly died in a fire in the 1930s and appears to visitors as a figure dressed in black. On occasion, she's been known to jump on people's cars.
Oh.
She's also spotted wandering the cemetery where she's buried and haunts the still existing remnants of the house that burned down with her in it. So many people have witnessed her haunting that the town organized an event called the Black Annie Walk. Now, I looked that up to see what that was about.
Yeah.
And they did that in 2014 around Halloween, and I don't think they've done it since.
Oh, I was going to say, we need to go.
I know. So yeah.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah. So that was Boonville, which I had never heard of that. That is southern Indiana.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one is Cries from a Gravestone in Mount Zion Cemetery. According to legend, Mount Zion Cemetery in Van Buren Township, Indiana, is haunted by a murder victim. The story claims that a man named Dan Guthrie was murdered in Henryville, and his body was dumped in a shallow grave at the corners of Cemetery Hill and Pixley Knob Road in order to cover up the crime. So they buried him in a cemetery so that he would blend in, I guess. I don't know.
Blend in. That's one place I wouldn't want to blend in.
No, that's for sure. Once his grave was discovered, he was reburied nearby in Mount Zion Cemetery. That hasn't kept him from haunting his original grave site or from crying out late at night from his new cemetery plot. Ghost hunters once placed a tape recorder on his headstone and captured a man's voice repeating, "Help me, God help me, please help me," over and over again. I know.
Sad.
That is so sad. Poor guy. So that was also southern Indiana. So the next one is the house that smells like death.
Ew.
It's the Hannah House.
Oh. I've been in the Hannah House before.
Have you really?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of it.
They used to do an actual haunted house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's right. I remember them doing that. That's right.
And I had a friend that had, because they do events there, and they have a room that they shut off. I mean, they close it off. They won't let anyone in there.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's haunted big time, I guess.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is actually in the heart of Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So the Hannah House is a historic mansion in Indianapolis that supposedly gives off the ghostly stench of death and human decay. According to local lore, in the 1850s, Alexander Moore Hannah owned and built the house. Hannah participated in the Underground Railroad and often had groups of escaped slaves hiding in his basement. One night, a lantern got knocked over, setting fire to the basement. The slaves were trapped and several burned to death. The smell of death lingers in the basement to this day. In addition to this, guests report having other paranormal activities such as doors opening and closing and mysterious voices. So that's creepy. That was the one that was closest to us.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is the Crosley Monster lurks in Jennings County. Yeah. Jennings County, Indiana is home to its very own Bigfoot legend called the Crosley Monster. It resembles the typical depictions of Bigfoot, half man, half monster, nearly 7 feet tall with glowing eyes. It walks on 2 legs and is covered in fur or hair. However, this Bigfoot is slightly different. It will chase you instead of run away.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Oh, I
guess
never. Where's Jennings County? Never
this
going
is
there.
southern Indiana again.
I probably won't go there. So.
Back in 2006, several kids were camping at Harson Pond in the Crosley Fishing and Wildlife Area when they saw the monster, who immediately leaped onto all fours and began chasing them.
Oh, no.
They got away, but only because they found themselves on a main road and the monster disappeared into nearby woods.
Oh, no.
I know, it's so creepy. So that's southern Indiana. This one's called Diana of the Dunes Wanders the Beach. This one is northern. This is really close to Gary, Indiana, and the Chicago area. Mm-hmm. So it's right on Lake Michigan. In Diana of the Dunes' real name was Alice Marble Gray. She was a free-spirited woman who lived in Indiana in the 1920s. While some details of her life are veritable facts, a lot of specific stories are wrapped up in local folklore. Gray was known as a free-spirited free spirit throughout her life, but her reputation as a nonconformist really took off when she moved to a remote location near Lake Michigan at 35 and chose to live off the land in an abandoned shack. The area is known as the Indiana Dunes State Park. It was there that she met fellow recluse Paul Wilson, and the two began sharing the shack and may have married. Accounts vary on that. Trouble struck when Paul Wilson became a murder suspect after the burned, beaten body of a man was discovered near the couple's beach home. This and the couple's unconventional lifestyle generated a lot of unwanted media attention, and they allegedly planned to travel via raft to Texas. Unfortunately,
Texas?
That's what it says.
I think they could pick somewhere a little bit closer. I don't think you can raft all the way to Texas.
I don't know, but that's what it says. I think we're going to take a raft to Texas.
Their arms are going to be sore.
Okay. So unfortunately, Gray died due to kidney trouble, although some local legend claim Wilson poisoned her. According to local stories, Diana still appears on the beach that she loved in form of a nude woman walking along the beach or swimming in the water. When visitors try to get closer to her, she vanishes into thin air. So, Indiana State Dunes, that's haunted, apparently. Okay, so the next one is a green-clawed beast swims in the Ohio River.
Okay.
In 1955, a tale emerged about a green-clawed, human-sized beast wading in the Ohio River to attack unsuspecting women. This legendary creature exists right outside of Evansville, Indiana, and supposedly attacked a woman that year while she was swimming. It had hairy arms, large clawed hands, and green skin. It grabbed at the woman, trying to pull her under several times before she managed to scare it away with a huge splash. Wow.
Must have been really a big splash.
So the green-clawed beast is a
scared of water.
pussy. What? You splashed my face!
You're messing up my makeup.
Oh my gosh!
You know that was someone dressed up.
Oh my gosh! That's hilarious. Okay, don't. You're going to piss it off and it's going to come raft to us.
From Texas.
Okay. She was left with multiple wounds. Oh, that sucks.
Okay.
Including a green stain shaped like a human hand.
See,
that
I
was
told
some
you
guy.
it was makeup.
That was some guy.
It was some dude trying to cop a feel, and she splashed him. And
He was seriously like, you're gonna ruin my makeup. Oh my gosh, we solved it. Oh, incidentally, this occurred on the same day as the famous Hopkinsville goblin sightings.
Oh, there's two of them.
Oh, I've never heard of that. Oh, this was the incident in Kelly, Kentucky, in which a family reported seeing flying saucers and goblin-like creatures outside their rural home. Some believe the Ohio River creature was an extraterrestrial related to the Kentucky goblins, who likely arrived on Earth on the same day.
No.
Yeah, that was some guy in green makeup trying to cop a feel.
Yes. You can take that one out of your history book. It sucks.
Yeah, we solved it. Okay. Next one is a witch still lives in Devil's Hollow. This is northern Indiana. Devil's Hollow is located in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Is allegedly a home to a witch's house that you'll want to avoid. The remains of the house with a long chimney is located on a hill deep in the woods on Cedar Canyon Road, according to local lore. A reclusive old woman once called this house home. Teenagers began gathering near her house due to its secluded location to have parties and hook up free of parental supervision. The old woman began spreading rumors she was a witch in hopes of scaring off some troublesome teens, but the plan backfired. A Fort Wayne resident burnt her house to the ground out of fear of the occult and witchcraft killing her.
Jesus.
Dumbass. No one was ever caught or charged with the crime, of course, and her spirit supposedly still haunts the grounds. Like any urban legend, there are some variations. In some variations, the woman actually was a witch and cursed the group of teens who slowly died via various means. Eventually, the teens decided to burn the witch alive. However, her body was never recovered, and some say the witch is actually immortal and still roams the grounds. That would be cool. I would like to go see that house. If it's still there. Well, it's like the remains of it. Because they burned it down.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is keep your eyes peeled for the ghost when crossing Dogface Bridge. This is northern Indiana. An old bridge in San Pierre, Indiana is allegedly a hotbed of paranormal activity. According to legend, back in the 1950s, a honeymooning couple were crossing this bridge when a dog ran in front of their car. They swerved to avoid it and were killed when their car ran off the bridge. Visitors have reportedly seen many apparitions near the bridge, most notably appearances of a female body with a dog's head.
Ew.
You can also sometimes hear sounds of dogs howling and growling in the area. Ooh, that's creepy. Next one is the ghost of Bud Burger at Embassy Theater. This is also northern Indiana, so Fort Wayne. Fort Wayne's Embassy Theater opened in 1928, and since the 70s, visitors reported paranormal activity. The ghost is allegedly of the much-beloved stage manager Bud Burger, who worked in the theater throughout the 30s and 50s and even lived there for a time. His ashes were spread on the roof when he died, which apparently caused his spirit to latch onto the building. Many stories have circulated over the years, and guests have claimed to see ghostly entities, and there have been other paranormal activity, like lights turning on and off and mysterious phone calls. Mysterious phone calls creep me out. Have you ever seen where I think it was a episode of Ghost Adventures and they were in this old abandoned who knows, hospital or something like that, but there used to be telephones in that building, but they had all been cut, all the phone cords have been cut, and there was a police officer on there saying, yeah, we get calls from here sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
That creeps me out. I love it.
I've heard of other stories like that, too.
Yeah. Okay, next one is the Haunted Barbie Hotel. This is northern Indiana as well. Back in the 1920s and 30s, the Barbie Hotel was a very popular hotspot for members of the mafia and old Hollywood celebrities. Both Al Capone and Rita Hayworth stayed there on occasion. According to local lore, the hotel is haunted by the spirit of its famous and infamous guests. Visitors report seeing orbs and seeing the ghost of Rita Hayworth. Many ghosts also hear the voice of a woman screaming. This is supposedly the sound of a woman who was murdered by her gangster boyfriend in the hotel. That'd be creepy.
Yep.
This one is also northern Indiana, where the battle never stopped is what it's called. The aptly named Battleground, Indiana is home to the Tippecanoe Battlefield Memorial and Museum on the very spot where the battle once took place. Supposedly, many locations near Battleground are haunted by the spirits of those killed in combat. Gravestones are said to move around in the nearby Harrison Cemetery, and ghosts and flashes of light appear on Hamilton Road. So that's a battleground, and I mean it's actually called Battleground, Indiana, but it's from a battle of some sort, so it's pretty cool. Okay, my last one of these is the Willard's Library Lady in Gray. This is southern Indiana. The Willard Library in Evansville, Indiana has long been rumored to house the eerie spirit known as the Lady in Gray. Some visitors have sworn they've captured in photographs, which they have security cameras all over the library, so they capture several things, and they have captured several things. So I'm going to post some on Facebook.
Is that a library that's still open and stuff?
Yeah.
As a library?
Yeah, it's in Evansville. Yeah.
We need to go there.
Well, let me just Hold on.
Just go. Just read it. Jeez.
Some theorize she is the daughter of the former owner of the house turned library, Louise Carpenter. Although no one knows for sure, her presence is said to sometimes be accompanied by musky perfume, moving books, flickering lights, and faucets turning on and off on their own. Over the years, there have been many Lady in Grey sightings, and psychics even have visited the library in 2007 and claimed that they could confirm a ghostly presence. Police officers once arrived at the library when the security system went off and reportedly saw ghosts in the upstairs window. She also has appeared to library patrons in the elevator.
Oh, no.
And a local weatherman also claimed to have had an encounter. The library sponsors ghost tours every year during October, so Evansville residents and visitors can get a chance to spot the Lady in Grey for themselves. And guess what?
What?
We're going. I registered it. I did.
Yeah.
We're going on October 27th.
Okay.
At 10 o'clock.
Okay.
It's like 3.5 hours away.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
We're going.
Yay.
Yay, we're going. So, yeah. I registered
That was worth the wait.
I know. I immediately looked it up because
Yeah.
I was like, fuck yes, it's, in October and it's free.
That is so awesome.
So they were like, give us your email and tell us how many guests. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, fuck yes.
Oh my gosh,
we're
that's so
going.
cool.
Yeah. So, because I figured we could leave like late afternoon, get
What day
something
is
to
that
eat.
on? Like a Friday?
It's a Saturday.
Oh, cool.
It's a Saturday before Halloween.
Okay.
And I picked the latest time possible, so it's late at night. So we're going to have to drive we're going to get home at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either. So, yay, I thought you'd be excited.
Yay. I am excited.
Good. Surprise.
Woohoo.
Happy Halloween.
Thanks.
Okay. Do you know it's 82 days till Halloween? I looked that up today. I'm very excited.
I keep seeing all the Halloween stuff on Facebook already.
I know.
I'm like, I can't wait.
I know a lot of people are posting it. I saw one today, though, that it had like a skeleton hand holding a gun. And it was like people who start posting Halloween stuff 2 months or too early or something like that. It was funny. Okay. So I decided to talk a little bit about the Demon House in Gary, Indiana, which, I mean, technically it's not there anymore. No. If you guys have not watched Demon House, Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures made a movie. He bought the house, and I'm going to discuss that. But
it was a really good documentary.
It really was. And, with sexy Zach Bagans, you never know with him if it's true or not.
Yeah, exactly.
But man, he's nice to look at.
It was spooky.
It was fucking creepy.
It was.
If you guys it's one of those wait for it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's so great.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes,
it was good.
It's awesome. So yeah, if you haven't watched it, even if you don't believe in it or whatever, I mean, you get to look at Zach Bagans and it's creepy at the end. So just watch it. If it's on Amazon Prime, if you guys have it, or Amazon, whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought I would just kind of go over, because I just watched this. Also, I watched Sir No Face.
Oh my gosh, that one was so good.
It's also on Amazon Prime. So if you guys want to look at that, and it only has like 2 stars.
Really?
Yes. And I was, because you suggested it to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck yeah. And I looked at it and it only had 2 stars, and I was like, well, how good can this be? But oh my God, it's fucking awesome.
It is.
You guys watch it. It is so good. It's called Sir No Face. Anyway, so back to Demon House. This is an article I found on, I believe, Ranker.com, I think. And it's from a guy named Matthew Lavelle. And I'm basically just going to read what happens, because there is just a lot of shit going on with this house. So all of the supposed real-life haunted houses out there, few boast as much evidence of paranormal activity as the exorcism house in Gary, Indiana. According to witnesses, a real-life version of The Exorcist happened after LaToya Ammon's family moved into their new home in 2011. Shortly after Ammon's, her mother and her siblings moved in, frightening things began to happen. In time, Ammons came to believe her family suffered from a plague of hundreds of demons. She sought the help of religious leaders, clairvoyants, and even local police. The rest of Gary initially dismissed the Ammons' claims of the haunting until they experienced it for themselves. The California Street house in Gary, Indiana, gained national notoriety after a local reporter picked up the story. The details, creepy enough to raise your hairs on end, came directly from first-hand accounts from religious leaders, law enforcement officials, and Ammons herself. Even though science can help to explain hauntings, the exorcism of LaToya Ammons defied all types of explanation. In November 2011, the Ammons family moved into a rental home on Carolina Street in Gary. On the quiet block, LaToya Ammons, her mother, Rosa Campbell, and Ammons' children quickly settled in, but by December, strange phenomena began happening in the house. Despite the frigid weather, black flies began swarming the house screened-in front porch. The family killed the flies, but they kept coming back. LaToya Ammons and Rosa Campbell began hearing noises in the house at night. The women always locked the door between the kitchen and the basement, but they claimed it would creak open by itself late at night. One evening, Campbell told investigators she woke to see a shadow of a man pacing in her living room. Oh my gosh, that's so scary. When she got up, she claimed she discovered wet boot prints on the floor, but no pacing man. In the early morning of March 10th, 2012, all hell broke loose. The family had company, including Ammons' 12-year-old daughter, who had a friend sleeping over. Around 2 a.m., Ammons came to check on them, only to find herself in a waking nightmare. She called Campbell into the room where both women, along with others, watched as the 12-year-old levitated above the it literally says, the 12-year-old levitated above the be unconscious.
Okay.
That's copy and paste for you, folks. Without any explanation, the women and the witnesses began to pray until Ammons' daughter woke up. She woke up with no recollection of the events. But anyway, I mean, she was fucking levitating.
Yes.
That's what you get out of that. That's messed up. The Ammons family reached out to the police for help, but law enforcement initially approached their claims of demonic activity with skepticism. Fearing some form of abuse, the Indiana Department of Child Services even removed LaToya Ammons' children from her home. All of the children were experiencing spiritual and emotional distress, one Department of Child Services employees wrote, but the authorities weren't convinced the source of that distress was supernatural. Clinical psychologist Stacy Wright, who conducted the psychological evaluation of the Ammons children, had her doubts. This appears to be an unfortunate and sad case of a child who has been induced into a delusional system perpetrated by his mother and potentially reinforced by other relatives. So, and that happens in the movie or the documentary, whatever you want to call it. You go into this believing them wholeheartedly, and then in the middle, you're like, I don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
You don't know who to believe because it's so unbelievable. Literally,
it's out there.
Yeah, it's insane, and your logical human brain does not want to believe that this scary shit is happening. Yeah. So I totally get people with skepticism.
Yeah, definitely. I would be too.
Right. You just don't want, flat out, you just don't want to believe it. Mm-hmm. So it's just not happening. So desperate for help, the police failed to provide. The Ammons family turned to the church. Many religious leaders refused to listen to their claims of demonic activity. However, one church official instructed them to thoroughly clean their home with bleach and ammonia and then use oil to draw crosses on every door and window in the house. And they did that. The family members also built an altar in the basement, and every night they recited Psalm 91 from the Bible. LaToya Ammons, desperate for answers, also spoke to two clairvoyants who informed her of more than 200 demons supposedly possessed from her home. Their advice was to move out immediately. But Ammon's family couldn't afford to. Instead, Ammon's built an altar in the basement and began burning sage and sulfur throughout the house. After 3 blissfully quiet days, the demons came roaring back. So very temporary fix, if any at all. Desperate the family's prayers and burning sage, the demonic activity got worse. Ammon's 3 children began to physically manifest signs of demonic possession. She claims their eyes would bulge out, their smiles would turn evil, and they would speak in deep, guttural voices. Could you fucking imagine? Oh my God.
No, not at all.
Her youngest son would apparently speak to a spirit visible only to himself while her middle child discussed what it felt like to die.
Oh.
Ammons herself remained unswayed by the evil spirits, claiming she'd been born protected, though they would still make her feel weak and lightheaded. No longer content merely with possession, the demonic forces in Ammon's home began physically attacking her children. Rosa Campbell claimed she saw the youngest child thrown out of the bathroom by an invisible force. Ammon's daughter received a nasty cut from a headboard that smacked into her, and later she often felt an invisible presence attempting to throttle her. While the entity pressed down on her, Ammon's daughter said it constantly told her she would die very soon. The demonic torture started following Latoya Ammons and her family even outside the confines of the home. They went to the family physician on April 19th, 2012, where multiple outsiders finally saw exactly what type of supernatural forces the Ammons faced. Ammon's son began cursing at the doctor in deep voices, and one boy was lifted and thrown into the wall without anybody touching him. Then the boys passed out. The horror continued after Ammon's son woke up in the hospital. The youngest son began growling and attempting to choke his brother. Then the older boy glided backward on the floor, wall, and ceiling before backflipping over his grandmother, all while holding her hand. Oh my God.
That's the one that always gets me.
Yeah.
And they all saw it.
Yes, everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone. And and again, spoiler alert, that's in the movie. But yeah, they all had to have therapy. They all, quit their jobs and moved away. They were like, fuck this shit. I'm out. And what would you do?
I would find some way to get out.
Absolutely. That is too scary. That is just way too scary. So Child Protective Services hesitant to suspect the supernatural, which again, yeah, you're going to be hesitant to accept that because that's fucked up. They were worried that Latoya Ammons might be abusing her children. However, when family case manager Valerie Washington investigated, she found Ammons and her children in healthy, robust states. What's more, a hospital psychiatrist evaluated Ammons and declared her of sound mind. In other words, evidence showed Ammons was not hurting her children or losing her grasp on reality. Each day it looked more and more clear that an unexplainable evil trailed the Ammons family. On April 20th, 2012, a hospital chaplain familiar with the symptoms exhibited by Latoya Ammons' son contacted Reverend Michael Magnet of St. Stephen Martyr Parish in Maryville, Indiana. The chaplain asked him to perform an exorcism on Ammon's 9-year-old son. He needed to rule out natural causes for the distress before he would agree to do an exorcism. While interviewing the family, Magniot came to the conclusion that the Carolina Street house indeed fell under the sway of demons. He watched as lights flickered on their own and window blinds moved without any air currents. He even saw wet footprints Rosa Campbell saw when the family first moved in. Now certain that evil was afoot, he blessed the house with holy water, read the Bible, and advised the family to leave. Eventually, officers with the Gary and Hammond police departments returned to Carolina Street, and they came with Rosa Campbell and the staff from the Department of Child Services. This time, the forces in the house appeared determined to make them believers. According to Gary Police Captain Charles Austin, once they entered the home, all equipment began malfunctioning. Their audio recorder picked up a voice that said, "Hey," while the photos taken in the home contained mysterious white and green shapes resembling faces and figures. Not content with merely tormenting him at Carolina, the demons followed Austin out the door, supposedly tampering with both his car and his garage door as he headed home. The Ammons family stayed in the North Carolina street house until May of 2012. Then they moved to Indianapolis, more than 150 miles away from the property which brought them so much toil and fear. With the help of Reverend Magnet, the nightmares and ominous feelings eventually dissipated. The house re-entered the spotlight in early 2014 when Zach Bagans of Ghost Adventures purchased it. In an email to the Indiana Star, Bagans said, "Something was inside that house that had the ability to do things I have never seen before." In 2016, Bagans tore the house down, a move criticized by Reverend Magnet. In the Reverend's opinion, tearing down the home before cleansing it might have allowed the malevolent presence there to escape, which who knows what he let out. After buying the Carolina Street house in 2014, Ghost Adventures star Zach Bagans started putting together a documentary, which we were talking about earlier. He claimed that he became severely sick, with various experts and crew members left the project due to illness or out of fear, and he believes the film, much like the subject it covers, is cursed, even including in the movie View at Your Own Risk in the film's beginning. So he is totally convinced that it is cursed and that nobody should be allowed to go in there. But again, like the Reverend said, once the house is gone, where do those demons go? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's not the house that's keeping those demons there. So, those were my stories.
Anything, like any story or the documentary or anything, did they ever say what was on that property before the house?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't remember hearing anything about that. And that's actually a really great question, because normally, I mean, I've watched a lot of Ghost Adventures, and normally Zach will go and he will talk.
He'll look up the history of the property.
And that's something that he didn't do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I wonder what was on that property. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, those were my stories for the week.
I think it's time for something uplifting.
I agree.
Let's do our witty wrap-up.
Yay, witty wrap-up.
This week, for my witty wrap-up, I'm doing IT help desk funny stories.
Oh, fuck yes. I love this.
People are so stupid.
People are stupid.
I thought I was bad at technology and computers and stuff.
Have you ever worked at a call center?
No, I have not.
Girl. I worked at a call center, and people are stupid. I didn't even work for IT. So, my gosh.
Yeah, these are just, I'm like, what? Really? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, seriously, you really, did I tell you my favorite one? It was when I first got on the phones, because you have to go through a lot of training. Mm-hmm. And when I first got on the phone, this guy literally said, "So, how do you call 911? I was like, I was going to ask him if he was serious. I said, "You dial 911?" He goes, You don't have to dial star first." No, is there an emergency? Because if there is an emergency going on right now, you need to not be talking to me. You need to call fucking 9 and just dial 9 and then 1 and then I was like, are you fucking serious?
Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. The user slapped a device down on the counter and exclaimed, "My mouse doesn't work." The IT pro picked it up, looked at it, then slapped it back down and responded, "That's because it's your garage door opener."
Shut up. Oh my gosh, do you think his garage door was going up and down while he was trying to get it to work? Sure, his neighbors just being like, "What the fuck's going on at Bill's house?
Garage is haunted." Okay, I told a user to move the mouse all the way to the right. They physically picked up the mouse and placed it on the right side of the desk.
Oh, that's horrible.
Hopefully these people are pretty. Okay. I asked the user if she could right-click on her desktop so she could select properties, and she said nothing was happening. Again, I asked kindly if she could right-click on her desktop again and tell me what she sees. Again, she said nothing is happening. When I got to her office, I saw the funniest thing. I saw the word click written in ink on a paper tablet on her desk.
What?
He said to right-click.
I wrote it. Nothing's happening. Oh my God.
When you die, what would you say?
I mean, you would just have to try so hard not to laugh. Be like, oh, honey.
Okay. A user was literally shouting at me that her laptop was not working. I run down there. She shows me her laptop. She hits the keys and touches the mouse pad. All this time shouting at me about how I couldn't do my job properly, blah, blah, blah. I walk up to the laptop, switch it on, and then just turn around and walk out of the room.
Oh, what a bitch. I hope she felt stupid.
Oh, you know she had to have felt stupid. You have to. A new user called on the first day saying her password wasn't working. I reset her password, but she kept saying her password was not working. So I finally asked what the error message was. She said that there was no error message, but when she typed her password, it only showed stars instead of her password. I calmly explained that it was to prevent people from seeing her password, and she said, "Oh, that is a really smart idea."
Man, could you feel? I would be so frustrated. Be like, I am pressing the goddamn F, and all I see is a star.
I read these, and I just have so much more respect for Tom, because that's what he does. He's in IT.
Right. That's right.
And he sits there and he talks about, how stupid people are, but I had no clue. I've had 6 people so far ask what their user ID for a particular system was. I told them it was their employee number. They ask if it was all caps. I say yes every time. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is the ticket. This is what the ticket says. My Hotmail has been hacked. Frantic user points to email login page and says, "Look, they left their email address in the login box. It said someone@example.com." Oh
my God. Someone at example.com has stolen my shit.
Here's another ticket. Can you reboot the internet? It seems to be pretty slow today.
Yeah, I'll get right on that.
We had someone ask us if we could download the internet so that we could still use it just in case there was an outage. These are so bad. Okay. User calls and says her computer will not turn on. I ask her to check the cords to make sure they are secure in both the back of her computer and the outlet. She tells me she has, and it still will not power up. I go to her classroom and look at the cords and found that while the computer was secure in the power strip was not plugged into the wall.
That's kind of important.
Mm-hmm. User spilled coffee inside of his desktop PC. Reason? He thought the CD tray was a cup holder.
Oh my gosh.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, that's funny.
A user calls and says, I just put paper in the printer and still nothing is printing. I said, okay, I'll be right there to look at it. When I opened the paper drawer, the ream of paper was still wrapped.
Oh my God.
Now, this one is really old. Person entering data on a floppy disk was told that she had to make a copy at the end of every day to provide a backup. About 6 months later, the disk became corrupt, so the technician asked if she had the copies. She opened a filing cabinet and pulled out a stack of paper. On every sheet was a photocopy of the disk.
No. No. That's not true. I refuse to believe that's true. Oh my God.
Okay.
Nobody's that dumb. There's no way.
Have you been listening?
There's no way. Oh my God.
I was walking through an office one day and a user said to me, at last, it's taken you long enough. I pressed F1, the help button, over 2 hours ago.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
Okay, this one says, one of my favorite repeating requests is, I can't remember my email password. Please email me a new password. Someone was complaining his PC wasn't working at all. After going through the whole have you checked cables and is it plugged in, etc., he had me thinking he needed a new power supply or something. Then I heard someone in the background say, I wonder how long the power outage will be this time. User calls saying mouse isn't working. No problem, says me. I grab a freshie and head over. Upon arrival, user says, and there's that annoying red light shining in my eyes, too. I turn the mouse right side up and walk quickly out of earshot, promptly losing it with laughter.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
That's it for my funnies.
That's funny. That reminds me, I have been watching like crazy Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
I've seen a few episodes of it.
Oh my gosh, if you want to just laugh at dumb shit and not think about anything, watch that show. It is so funny. And it's Chris Pratt's character. Mm-hmm. His name's Andy on there. And he's just adorable and I love him. And he just plays this he's a dumbass, you know, and he was sitting at a computer and Amy Poehler's character was sick. And I read online that this was a line that was not written. This was just like improvised by him. But she's like getting ready to go to the doctor and he goes, Leslie, I put your symptoms in the computer and it says you may have network connectivity problems. But I guess like he typed it in and like, you know, just get, you know, and it was so funny. I just love that show so much. I've been watching that like crazy lately. All right, so thanks again for listening and look up our Facebook page. I have been trying to figure out the difference between a Facebook page and a Facebook group. So I have no clue. So I've just been posting stuff sometimes on the group and sometimes on the Facebook page, but look up both. We're on there. I'm sorry, we have no clue what we're doing yet. Send us your stories. We still want those listener stories. Like I said, we want to just fill our podcast with your stories. So email them at ghoulsnightoutpodcast@gmail.com. You can listen to us on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes, Podcast Addict, anywhere. Hopefully you listen to podcasts. Again, if I missed a place where you listen, let me know. We have a Twitter, we have a Tumblr, we have Instagram, we have all those where you can find our episodes, and you can also find our episodes on YouTube, but I'm just posting on Facebook right now. So look us up, send us your stories, and thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you next week.
Later.
Bye.